As city leaders continue the debate over how to spend the Rams settlement money, a pair of proposals could spend up to 10% or more of that money funding early childhood education. A compromise plan, now advancing its way through City Hall, would spend $30 to $34 million to launch a pilot program helping to pay for part of a city worker's child care costs. Other community providers could also tap into those funds if they help to train new child care workers. The Board of Aldermen could potentially expand that program at some point to other parents who are not city workers. Joining us now is Charli Cooksey with WEPOWER and Byron Clemens, the spokesperson with the American Federation of Teachers, St. Louis 420. It's good to have you both with us. Byron, I would like to start with you if I can. What is the current need? What is the current capacity in the city to provide child care for early age children, and what is the need to expand?
Well, there is pre-K in the St. Louis public schools with a state-approved curriculum and certified teachers, and that's tuition-free in all the elementary schools in the city of St. Louis. And that's pre-K, it's not daycare per se. There is a need for daycare. We're just not sure WEPOWER Opportunity Trust should have anything to do with it.
He name-checked you there. WEPOWER is your organization. Would you like to just address that first part? He's putting you in league with Opportunity Trust. Yeah. I know you've suggested that, well, how do you explain your relationship with that group?
Sure. I don't understand why you keep referencing Opportunity Trust. WEPOWER is completely independent. We do not have a relationship with Opportunity Trust, and we are focused on early childhood.
And as in the focus, we saw in the survey that the City Board of Aldermen put out that child care and expanding child care ranked very high across the city. What was WEPOWER's role in building community support or in influencing the outcome of that survey?
Yeah, we simply went to residents across the region and asked them to take the survey. And they voted, and the voting showed that early childhood is a top priority for Black residents and for low-income households, and top 4 priority among all the folks that engage in the voting process.
At the start of this debate, there were 2 rival bills, and the one backed by the business community, the big lobbying powerhouse, Greater St. Louis Inc., did not have any funding for early childhood. Now they are supporting it. What does it mean to have the business community backing this idea?
I believe it's a smart decision on behalf of the business community. They are working to grow our economy. You cannot grow our economy without investing in early childhood.
As we mentioned off the top, part of this money could go to help train new child care workers. And Byron, if I understand, some St. Louis public school teachers could do that training, and they could also tap into some of this funding. Is that a positive?
That's an offer that's on the table. It was mentioned in the Board of Aldermen as a proposal that we would be glad to partner with child care providers, with certified teachers, with state-approved curriculum. And I think that's a worthy project to consider. But we are concerned about WEPOWER Opportunity Trust and their outsized influence in this whole process. They had paid, quote, volunteers who drove that whole petitioning process and took part in the surveys that were put up in a portal, kind of doing an end around from the Board of Aldermen. And we didn't support that. But we were in support of Board Bill 131, the pure bill that was up, and still do.
I want to put a pin in this. We'll come back to that in just a minute if I can. I can sense that there's some tension in the funding and the fight of how the early childhood model goes forward in St. Louis. Is it appropriate for people other than St. Louis Public Schools to also lift part of the burden? If it takes a village, should there be other providers, private care providers that help offer early childhood?
Absolutely, there should be.
And to the comments he just made, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, it sounds like we're more on the same page than I realized. However, Board Bill 131 had no support for education. I think we both believe that we need to invest in education. So Board Bill 153 has nothing to do with WEPOWER benefiting financially, has nothing to do with Opportunity Trust benefiting financially. Also, I would love for you to quit combining WEPOWER and the Opportunity Trust, because we are 2 separate entities that have 2 different agendas, and they are not the same.
Is it fair to say that there's some suspicion that maybe kids would go to an early childhood education provider that is private and not affiliated with a teachers union, and then from there they might matriculate up into a charter school? Is that part of the concern the teachers union has?
It is our concern. WEPOWER Opportunity Trust constantly lobbies in Jefferson City for so-called school choice.
WePower has never
and the
lobbied for
millionaires,
school choice. That is inaccurate. You need to quit telling things that are not accurate.
and the millionaires who back this whole thing have hundreds of millions of dollars. They could fund daycare on their own. They don't need to feed at the public trough.
Does WePower have a position on the unionization of the early childhood workforce?
We are pro-union. We would love for the childcare community to get unionized. We have never been against that idea, and we have never advocated for school choice or charter schools ever at the local or state level. And if there's evidence that proves that wrong, please direct me to it, and I will take ownership. But it is unfair for you to continue to say things that are not accurate or publicly documented.
I want to ask you also, Byron,
It's
about
on the
this.
Opportunity Trust webpage.
We have nothing to do with the Opportunity Trust. So if you want to make those assertions about them, that's fine, but we are WePower, and there's no proof that we have ever advocated for school choice. None anywhere.
I want to draw a distinction because we're all entitled to advocate as Americans.
Absolutely.
We have that power. Unions join forces with people that do the same work and advocate. Sometimes they do so with the help of, I'm going to call it dark money, right? What's the distinction? But if a union can advocate for something...
We also advocate for public education. One thing I want to mention, a study called Good Jobs, Disparity in the St. Louis region and how funding is given to school districts. And St. Louis Public Schools were shortchanged about $200 million over the last 6 years in property taxes through TIFs and tax abatements.
But you wouldn't say that right now, as it stands, at current staffing levels and with the current financial situation at SLPS, that they could take on the burden of providing early childhood education to the city of St. Louis?
Certainly $200 million in TIFs and tax abatements could help with that.
So what's the pathway here forward? Because right now, it looks like early childhood education is now included in the city, I don't want to say approved bill, but the bill that has momentum right now, and its share of funding is growing. There has been some criticism or some skepticism from board members, one even calling it a special interest. How do you take feedback like that?
If early childhood is special interest, then so be it. I believe that whether we use that language or not, we know that there are 20,000 children across St. Louis City who need access to quality early childhood. They are ages 0 through 5, and that we have to address that. Half of those children are living in poverty, and most of the children living in poverty in early childhood age do not have access to a quality, affordable seat. And we have to start providing access at birth so that children can enter SLPS, enter kindergarten, prepared to thrive.
I want to be clear, it's right now this program, this pilot program would only apply to, I think there are roughly 5,000 city workers, and surely all of them are not parents. So it would be a small pool of people. It might expand beyond. I know you'd like to see it expand citywide. Byron, can you give us any insight into the posture of AFT, the position that AFT takes right now, if the teachers union and its members are asked to help come forward and train the next generation of early childhood educators? But some of those people would be
pleased and proud to take part in that.
Even if they worked at private providers?
Well, yes, but we just don't see where WePower fits into this at all. And the only record we have right now is what happened with Prop R, which was another WePower Opportunity Trust venture. And the money from that has been used mostly for administrative costs, one not-for-profit helping another not-for-profit. And that's, unfortunately, these not-for-profits have very high administrative costs.
Do you have any anything you can use to illustrate how much of the funding you'd like to see go toward teachers and the actual work as opposed to top-heavy administration?
Yeah, the bill that was introduced this past week had a clause in there, I believe, said that no more than 5% can go towards admin. And Prop R went straight to child care providers, and we heard child care educators, providers at the hearing in December speak about how they received the money and they were able to improve the quality of care offered through Prop R. And we are hopeful and excited that the same thing will happen with the RAM settlement funds.
All right, Byron Clemens and Charli Cooksey, two passionate advocates fighting in the education space, albeit in different corners of this particular conversation. Thank you both for joining us. You can see a bit of the flavor of the debate that is roiling in City Hall right now, but perhaps we can hear from more of you in the days and weeks to come as this Rams money and its plan comes together.